It's Dave
and Barbara
from Hiking with Dave and Barbara. You can catch our blog on www.hikingwithdave-and-barbara. And we're currently at home in Manchester, and we're doing a little series about walks we've done, which we've entitled Can You Do It? And this one we're concentrating on today is the coast to coast, the C2C as some people call it, which goes from St Bees in Cumbria in the Lake District. It goes across the Pennines, through Yorkshire, and ends up at Robin Hood's Bay on the east coast. It's quite a tough walk, I would say, but it is fantastic. What we've done as before, we've split it down into 5 sections. Firstly, the cost, see if you can afford it. Secondly, the timescales, whether you've got time to do it, what time of the year is best to do it, etc. Question 3 or section 3, how hard is it? Very, very important, and it actually is quite a tough trek, so you need to watch that section. The 4th section, services, which includes accommodation and food, and the last section is hike-specific issues. So different hikes have different things which need to be spoken about. So at the end, we'll just cover 1 or 2 other issues if we can think of any. Okay, should we move on, Barbara?
Yep.
Okay, let's look at the cost. Right, let's look at the cost. We decided to do this walk maybe a month or so before, but we actually only booked it a couple of weeks before. The reason being we wanted to make sure we had a decent weather window, which I'm not sure whether it works or not in this case. But we did the trek. The trek is 192 miles long, and we did it in 12 days. Now, most of the time we were staying in bed and breakfasts. In fact, all of the time we were staying in bed and breakfasts. Sometimes it was a pub, but it's similar sort of thing, small hotels. Average cost, I would say, between £80 and £90 per night. So it's not particularly cheap. That is for bed and breakfast. So if you work that out over 12 nights, it comes to just over £1,000 per couple. Not sure if you're doing it on your own, you'd get much of a discount. Hotels in the lakes are, I think, quite expensive. The lakes and that whole run are quite expensive. So if you look at it, just over £1,000 for the 2 of us for 12 days, bed and breakfast. You still have to buy lunch, you still have to buy your dinner in the evening. That's right. Anything to add on that, Barbara, in terms of costs, would you say?
No, not really.
No, okay. We're going to look at the timescales. Basically, the trip takes from between 12 and 14 days. I would say you could go longer if you wanted. I don't think many people will do it much quicker. We didn't meet anybody doing it less than 12 days, and 12 days is quite good going. Best times of the year to do it would be clearly the summer months. I'm trying to think which month we did it in. July, but really April, May, June, July, August, September would probably be good months. The better the weather, the better this trek would be. If you can manage those time scales, if you can spare a couple of weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks, you definitely can give this trek a go. Anything to add, Barbara, before we move on to actually how hard it is?
Just like to say, so we took the train up. So that was like half a day for the train from Manchester to St Bees. Then we started walking at lunchtime when we got there.
We did.
Likewise, coming home, we finished in Robin Hood's Bay at 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Caught the bus to Scarborough, train back to Manchester, got home 11 o'clock at night. It can be done. It
can be done. So if you look at it that way, you could probably do this in straight 12 days if you could work it out. Certainly 14 days you could do it, but that is pretty good going, and we were going quite well. Right, we're going to move on to actually how hard is the trek. We might have given you clues in that last section, but actually how hard is it? So how hard is this trek? Well, it's not easy, I would say. Compare it to other treks, Thames Path, or even the West Highland Way. This is significantly harder, mainly because it's longer. So 200 miles is a long way. It took us 12 days. On average, we were walking 16 miles a day, every day. No breaks in that. Altitude is also an issue. Total altitude for the St Bees to John O'Groats route is 6,600 metres of ascent. So if you average that, between 12 days, you're coming something like 550, 500 metres of ascent every single day on average, ascent and descent. Now obviously you can spread that out a little. If you take 14 days, there'll be less altitude, but there is some issues. There's a couple of days, certainly the one I can remember, from Patterdale to Shap, which was 20 miles.
There is no choice on that one.
No choice on this one, with 1,000 metres of ascent. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
I think what it was. And that was a big, old, long, hot day. It was fantastic.
Just like I say, you come down the side of Haweswater, and it is not easy. It's a very rocky, stony path.
Yeah.
Hindsight, we might have gone the other side and walked down the road, which sounds really boring, but that would have been so much easier. That was a 10.5-hour day.
Yeah. So we've met people who'd done this, who'd booked this hike a few weeks before with, I can't think of the company, it might have been Sherpa, but they weren't seasoned walkers, and this section they couldn't really make any smaller. And that was really, really tough for them. I'm surprised they made it, and which they did. So it's a tough old walk. What I'm getting at is you've got to be used to multi-day trekking. There's no point walking up Helvellyn and you've done that, so this will be fine. This is 12 quite hard days. Fantastic days, but quite hard. So if you can multi-day trek and you can do it for multiple days, and you can do 1,000 metres and walk 15, 20 miles per day, some days, then you can do this trek. Anything to add before we move on to the next section, which is the accommodation and food?
Nope, that's all good.
All right, let's move on. So let's check out the services, mainly accommodation and food, quite important. And this bit does put a few people off, dormitories, etc., etc. Well, this walk was actually no dormitories. We'd all booked hotels or pubs or small bed and breakfasts, I would say. Or farms.
Farmhouse.
Farmhouse. And for the full 12 days, we managed to get what I would say decent accommodation. Not always en suite, but we always had a shared shower. Quality was pretty good. I don't think anybody could complain about the standards of hotels we had. In fact, we had some really nice places. Some of the pubs are a bit rough and ready, but you know, it was fine. Even the most hygienic, worried person in the world could probably do this hike. Food wise, Barbara, would you like to cover that? Or?
Excellent. Bed and breakfast, and it was the most huge English breakfast, which I actually thought wasn't quite the best with having a walk after that. And also we like to leave at like 7 a.m. Some mornings you'd be waiting, it'd be 8, half 8, waiting for breakfast. And after a while I did notice people having smaller breakfasts.
Yeah, actually, good story there. After about day 2, I think it was, we met a couple of German lads who became our friends, who we pretty well, saw every other day. And they were having the big English breakfast. I can't do the German accent. They were loving it. They were loving it. Sausage, cheese, everything, and fruit, and bread, and coffee. And so we saw them later on, day 8, day 9. They just couldn't eat any more. They were just having, egg on toast or salmon. Full English breakfast is great. I challenge anyone to have 12 of those and then do 20 miles and 1,000 metres of ascent. Hey ho. But generally, quality very good.
Evening meals in the pub.
Sorry.
Excellent. It's typical English pub food, steak pie, chips, veg, chicken. It's really, really proper walking food during the day. Sometimes the accommodation would make up lunch for you the next day, or try and pick up some food along the way.
Yeah, we didn't really have a problem there. I don't think we ever thought we were going to starve.
No,
we didn't. So, okay, that's services accommodation, all pretty good. I don't think anybody should be fearful of that side of things. Right, we'll move on to the last section, which we always entitle hike-specific issues, just because certain hikes just need certain things. So, we'll move on to that now. Okay, let's have a look at the hike-specific issues. Have you got any, Barbara?
I've got quite a few.
Go on then, you start.
This walk is not signposted. When we came home, I did email a few places to say, why isn't it signposted? Apparently it's not a national path. So, and also the Lake District National Park don't seem to like putting up signposts. They did reply saying you should be able to use a map and a compass. The German gentleman that we've mentioned previously, they got very, very lost in Black Sail and said that they were nearly called out the mountain rescue because they were so lost. started and the mist came down, it was pouring in rain, it was really bad weather. I personally think it should be signposted all the way.
Yeah.
We go walking a lot in Spain, the Alps. There's always signs. There's always red and white dashes on the rocks.
There is.
We use the Coast to Coast A to Z,
Yeah.
which is like a series of OS maps just put in a book for you, which you can just follow, and that is really, really, I'd so recommend buying that book. It's £6 or £7 in advance.
Yeah.
Like specific issues. Anything else?
Yeah, I would like to do one. One is the direction. The normal route is from west to east, so St. Bees and finish up as Robin Hood's Bay. Now we did see the odd, I don't know, strange person coming the other way. The problem is they're walking on their own, or a few of them, but they don't meet anybody, or they might meet somebody for a few hours and then that's it. The next day they're gone. Going our way, I'd like to think there was probably 30 or 40 people per day going that way. It did have a Camino feel about it.
It certainly did.
Whereas we were meeting people all the way across. In fact, the people I think we met first day, the young couple, we met them on the last day
And we met them throughout as well.
And the German lads. We met plenty of people. It was quite a fantastic walk in terms of meeting people. Probably one of my favourite hikes, to be honest.
It is fantastic. It is, what I would say is, I didn't realise how much countryside there actually is. It doesn't go through many towns, so you need to take food, make sure you've got enough cereal bars, snacks with you, take a really good first aid kit. We didn't, it comes through Richmond, for example, but there's not many places it actually goes through. It does stick to the countryside an awful lot of the way.
It's definitely a doable trek, I would say.
It is.
All right, how can we sum this up then in terms of... Sorry, Barbara, you carry on if you've got some other
being
things.
in England, I'd say definitely take all types of clothing. We did get absolutely soaked. The road was flooded. We paddled through water as we came into Richmond and arrived looking rather drenched in the pub on a Sunday lunch.
We did.
Take, wet weather clothes. Some days were absolutely boiling. A young lady, she got quite badly sunburnt. So take all types of...
We missed out one important thing, the bags.
Oh yes, that's what I was going to say.
important.
So, having done Caminos across Spain previously, carrying our bags, on this trip we thought we'll carry our bags. And it was day 2, day 3, again with the Germans, who said, why are you carrying your bags?
Yeah.
And so we actually phoned up Sherpa at that point, and they booked for our bags to be carried all the way across, which made such a difference. Hindsight, had we known we were going to have the bags carried, we could have taken a tent with us, maybe booked different accommodation occasionally. Take your tent. Gives you more options.
Yeah, it's quite inexpensive as well. If you have one large bag carried between you, I think it's £7 or £8 per night.
So extremely good service.
It's well worth the money, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's one point on the hike. The final point is it's at the A17 in the middle of Yorkshire. Don't be scared, but the path comes to a dual carriageway, 60, 70 miles an hour.
Yes.
And you have to run across the dual carriageway. Then you stand in the middle and run across. There is no option but to do that. Again, I have written to a lot of people.
That's right.
In Spain, they'd build an underpass, a bridge over.
Yeah, it was crazy.
You wouldn't find that anywhere else.
It was the A19, wasn't it?
A19.
But yeah, it was like a motorway, to be honest. It's a big dual carriageway. The Germans described it as an autobahn. And honestly, easily kill yourself on that particular bit. So just to sum up the whole walk, this is definitely a doable walk for nearly anybody. Hygiene-wise, absolutely no problems. It's fantastic. The hiking is tough, not really technical, I would say, but it is quite long hiking. It's still a 200-mile trek, and the altitude is doable, apart from 1 or 2 sections which are quite tough. The people from Cleethorpes I was talking about before, who'd only booked it a few weeks before, hadn't actually done that much practice, and I've forgotten the lady's name, but she thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was. But you know what? She struggled through those first 2 or 3 days, which were very tough through the Lake District, and she made it. And honestly, it was the best feeling in the world speaking to her.
It was the gin and tonic on the bar every night.
Yeah, she did love a gin and tonic.
That pulled her through.
Yeah. So anybody wants probably the premier English hike, this is the one. It's way twice as hard as the West Highland Way. The scenery's probably as good or better.
It varies because you're coming across the Lake District, across the Pennines, and across swathes of farmland all the way across Yorkshire. Then you beat the Yorkshire Dales. It's fantastic. It's lovely. I would really, really recommend it.
Yeah, I think that just about finishes our little Can You Do It video. If we do any more hikes in the next few months or so, we will add another video. But take a look at some of our others. Barbara does great blogs on all the walks we've done. Look at all the videos we've done from all the walks we've described. And if you want to do any of them or ask any questions, you can email myself or Barbara. And we'll see you another time. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye.